Stabilize! I will have order!
God, I could listen to this man over and over.
Osmanthus wine tastes the same.
Okay, maybe that's enough for now. Hey everyone, it's Oz. Welcome. Since Zhongli's rerun is imminent, I feel like I have to talk a bit about him, as he's easily one of my favorite characters in the game. I remember when I first started playing Genshin, I checked the character archive, saw him and thought that, he's kinda basic, nothing interesting. But a couple days later I started US Archon Quest and my view on him changed completely. From a character I was not that interested in, he became my favorite character in the game, and I was obsessed with him for a good couple months. But really, can you blame me? His personality is so interesting and the voice acting is just exquisite. I really could listen to that man all the time. Around his first rerun, each morning I'd take a walk and listen to his demo, which still in my opinion is the best Genshin demo. I listened to his voice lines and generally my thoughts were like 100% occupied by him. Hell, I even got his signature weapon, Vortex Vanquisher, which funnily enough is a downgrade from a 3-star Black Tassel for me, but it just looks so damn good on him. And to this day he continues to be one of my favorite characters in the game and is probably the most used unit I have. Anyway, enough of my story. In this video I'll be talking about his kit, gearing, team's pros and cons, and my general thoughts on him. Whether he's worth pulling for or not, as it seems there's constantly a debate going on about that. So, Zhongli. The Geo Archon, the CEO of GEO, is a 5-star Geo Polar Muser with a main role being a shielder. While his normal attacks look very cool, they're usually not worth using, unless you're doing some weird Crescent Pike build, I guess. His skill Dominus Lapidis is easily the most important part of his kit. If tapped, it creates a pillar for quite a long time that deals small AoE damage around it every now and then. While the pillar is active, other present Geo constructs will also pulsate, dealing slightly more damage. I'll be honest, not a big fan of this part of the skill. For me, its only positive is pretty much giving me Tenacity of the Middle left buff, but it can also disrupt me when I accidentally climb on it. Oh, it's nice for exploration though. The tap version of the skill has 4-second cooldown. Using it while the pillar is active will reposition the pillar. However, if you hold the skill, it will create a really strong shield that scales off Zhongli's HP. This is the strongest shield in the game, it lasts 20 seconds and has 12-second cooldown. It also reduces all elemental resistance of the nearby enemies by 20%, which is a very valuable and hard to get buff to your damage, especially in teams focused on Geo or Anemo. If you build your Zhongli for HP, the shield will let you ignore most of the enemy attacks, so you can just attack constantly and not worry about surviving. Oh right, holding skill will also put a pillar up if there isn't one active. Okay, and lastly we have Zhongli's burst, Planet Befall. Zhongli yeets a meatball at the enemies, dealing decent damage and petrifying them for up to 4 seconds. Or 6 with Constellations. The burst costs 40 energy and has 12-second cooldown. A lot of people build their Zhongli to deal a lot of damage with the burst, but it does have a couple issues. While this burst has a very large scaling with 900% at level 10, its animation is really long and you could just deal more damage by doing your rotation with other characters. By building your Zhongli for the burst damage, you will also somewhat forgo the comfort of his shield, at least it won't be strong enough for you to ignore most of the attacks in Abyss. However, you get some defensive utility from the burst. The iframes from its long animation and 4-second petrification can be quite valuable in more dangerous fights. I personally really only use his burst when there are enemies that deal very high damage, like consecrated beasts, and his shield is not enough to completely ignore their attacks. Well, that and when there are elemental shields that I don't have elements required to break them, but usually I don't use it too often. As for Zhongli's passives, one of them makes it so that when his shield takes damage, it will give the character wielding it 5% shield strength, stacking up to 5 times. Nice buff if there are many enemies, I guess. And the other one adds additional HP scaling to Zhongli's damage from all talents. While it's a nice bonus, Zhongli build for HP still won't deal that much damage. Mine crits with his burst for like 30k. So yeah, if you want big damage, you'll still build him for attack and crits and whatnot. Alright, let's talk weapons. Zhongli has quite a couple options that will depend on what you're building him for. If your Zhongli is a shield bot, you can give him either Favlance to help your team with energy, or Black Tassel for stronger shields. And that's pretty much it. Either will be good, just depends on what you need. I see most people running Favlance though. If you're building Zhongli for burst damage, your best option by far will be Staff of Homa. If you don't have it, R5 Wavebreaker Finn is his second best option, although I feel like the chances of having it are even lower. Calamity Queller is also great, upgrade, and if you don't have any of those, you can just use the catch. It's a great free-to-play option. The Battle Pass weapon deathmatch is very similar to catch if your catch is already taken. And if you're building your Zhongli as physical DPS, use Crescent Pike. There's no point in running anything else in those builds. As for Zhongli's signature weapon, Vortex Vanquisher, it's bad. I guess it can be used if you're running solo Zhongli because it'll give some damage and shield strength, but like, it's bad. If you have it, I'm sorry. It looks great on him though. I personally use it. Okay, artifacts. There are a couple sets you can use with Zhongli. If you're using him as a shield bot and your team scales with attack, you can use 4-piece tenacity of the melee left. This will give you attack and shield strength buff when your skill damages enemies. If you're using him in some Hyperbloom or Virgin team, you can make him hold 4-piece Deepwood Memory to enable your Nahida to hold Gilded Dreams. And if you're not using Dendro and your team isn't really based on attack, you can use 4-piece Archaic Petra. It is kinda annoying to use because you have to pick up a crystallized shards with Zhongli, but it provides 35% elemental damage bonus to the element of the picked up shards, so it's quite decent, for example in Hu Tao team. You can also give your Zhongli 2-piece tenacity of the middle left, 2-piece Varukasha's glow for more HP and thus bigger shields. If your Zhongli is built for burst damage, you will want to use either 4-piece Noblesse Oblige or 4-piece Emblem, and if your Zhongli is a physical DPS, you can use 4-piece Pale Flame or 2-piece Pale Flame, 2-piece Bloodstained Chivalry. 4-piece Pale Flame gives you more damage but is less reliable, so I'd just go with 2-piece. As for the stats, if your Zhongli is a shield bot, you want to give him HP, and if he has Favonius Lance, you want to give him some crit rate, of course. If he's a burst support, you want to give him attack percent Sands or HP percent for slightly less damage but bigger shields, Geo damage Goblet and crit Circlet. And if he's a physical DPS, attack or HP Sands, physical Goblet and crit Hat. Constellations. Zhongli's Constellations are not that good honestly, and I generally wouldn't recommend rolling for it. But alright, let's go. C1 lets you have 2 pillars active at once, which has its benefits, but holy shit, I can't imagine having to watch out not to climb 2 of them instead of 1. C2 makes it so that your burst applies shield from the skill to you and your teammates, making you an excellent co-op shielder and letting you deal some damage and petrify enemies while getting the shield. C3 is skill talent increase, so stronger shields. C4 increases AoE of his burst by 20% and increases duration of the petrification by 2 seconds, so pretty nice against annoying or dangerous enemies. C5 increases talent level of the burst, so more damage, and his C6 makes it so that when his shield takes damage, it will heal you for 40% damage taken. It can be nice in situations where there's damage that bypasses shields, like corrosion, cause other attacks will heal you in those situations, but if you're using him with Hu Tao, it can be quite annoying because you generally don't want to heal her. Also it's C6, so it's way too expensive. Teams. Zhongli can be used pretty much everywhere that isn't a freeze team. His shield is very valuable, providing you comfort and giving you resistance to interruption. Because it lasts so long, you can often perform your entire rotation without having to swap back to him to refresh the shield. It's especially great for characters that want to finish their attack strings like Yoimiya, or those that don't want to be healed like Hu Tao. His elemental resistance shred is also very nice in teams that focus on Anemo or Geo hyper carries, so Ito or Shao. Generally he's one of the most versatile characters in the game. Alright, we went over his kit, gearing and teams, so let's talk his pros and cons and my thoughts on him. Is he worth pulling for? As I said, people are generally divided on his viability, and there are a couple reasons for that. So let's start with the cons. First of all, Zhongli is rarely the best option damage-wise. If it comes to defensive units, others will often provide more damage, with Benny giving you massive attack buff or Kokomi applying Hydro for those juicy reactions. Not only that, but his burst is often damage loss, as it doesn't really deal that much damage given how long its animation is. It is much more valuable with C2 when it applies shield, so you don't have to use his skill, but you know, that's Constellations, that stuff costs money. Or well, you can save wishes, but there are better things you can get with them. And well, another problem is his element, Geo. Zhongli won't contribute to any reactions other than Crystallize, and you know, while Crystallize doesn't hurt you, it can mess up auras on the enemies and for example cause you to not vaporize your hit. So you know, that's a fair bit of cons. But I think that his shield completely makes up for them. at least for some players. Zhongli is easily the most comfortable defensive unit in the game in many situations, apart from fights where enemies bypass shields. Hi Rift Hounds, you know I hate you. He will often let you ignore all the attacks and let you unga bunga to your heart's content. And while some players will say just dodge, having shield will just make it so that you can't mess up. Also, dodging takes time, so you attack less, and it interrupts your attack strings, and for some characters, like Yoimiya, it's really important to finish them. I think that a lot of people tend to downplay the damage you get from attacking instead of dodging. Also, if you just like Zhongli, get him, you won't regret it. Ultimately, whether Zhongli is worth pulling for will depend on what type of player you are. If you enjoy meta, min-maxing and want to push your damage to its limit, maybe he isn't the best option for you. But if you're somewhat lazy, don't want to dodge constantly, and just want to have easier time, he'll be amazing. That's basically what he does. He makes most of the content much easier. You can ignore a lot of the mechanics and just focus on your rotation. He also allows you to do some really lazy teams like Nahida, Yae, Zhongli, Fischl. I love using that one in the overworld. Just place everything down and watch everything die. So yeah, I generally think he's a great character and I do love using him, but also I do understand that for some people he might not be the best choice. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my ramblings. Let me know in the comments what your opinions are on Zhongli. Are you pulling for him, or maybe you have him? You can share your thoughts and experiences with him. Anyway, thanks for watching, have a great day, and see ya!